When it comes to wrestling games, the WWE is like Call of Duty. It might have competitors here and there, but they tend to dominate the franchise. In the beginning, they did it with games like the SmackDown games or the Raw games. After that, they introduced the SmackDown vs. Raw series, which lasted all the way up until 2011? Now after that, and more recently, we've had the 2K games, starting in 2K14, leading all the way up to 2K23, and the future release 2K24. Now, both series, SmackDown vs. Raw and 2K, have dominated. Each game sells. Now, whether or not that has to do with the quality of the games or the brand that they're all attached to, that's up to you, but each game out of each series did great. Even though the SmackDown vs. Raw games is remembered a lot more fondly than the 2K games due to the 2K having a lot of ups and downs in between, 16 and 20, for some people the 2K games are their SmackDown vs. Raw games. Somebody's 2K15 is my SmackDown vs. Raw 06. But something that people tend to forget is there was an in-between of SmackDown vs. Raw and 2K. Now, I don't know the legitimate name for these two games, but I like to call it the numbered series, which started with WWE 12, which came after 2011 SmackDown vs. Raw. Now, WWE 12 was okay. For me, it kind of felt like a remix of WWE SmackDown vs. Raw 2011. They started taking the whole realistic route in 2010 when they removed the HUDs from the SmackDown vs. Raw games, and it carried over in 2011. Now, 2011 was a lot more advanced than 2010 in my opinion, so 2012 took what made 2011 good and they took it into their game and made it their own. Now, that's WWE 12. Now, the second release of the WWE numbered games, which is remembered more fondly and more often, is WWE 13. Now, WWE 13 is a wrestling game released on November of 2012. It was a follow-up to 12 and a predecessor to the 2K series, all in the same time. This is the second and last game of the numbered series. Now, even though it may look like WWE 12, to me, they play very different. While WWE 12 I said was a remix of SmackDown vs. Raw 2011, when I go back and play 13, I feel like I'm playing a blueprint version of 2K14. The gameplay, the entrances, the designs, the graphics, and the Attitude Era all felt like I was playing 2K14 before it was dropped. Now, I'm going to talk about a number of things that I liked in this game, right? But first things first, I feel like I should start with the main attraction to WWE 13, the Attitude Era. The Attitude Era is an era in wrestling that people consider one of the greatest eras of all time. If not the greatest era of all time, wrestling-wise. Starting in 1997 and ending in, most people would say, 2002. Now, Mad Faces is attached to the Attitude Era, but the main ones folks really talk about is The Rock, Stone Cold Steve Austin, and Undertaker. Those are like the three main stars of the Attitude Era. That including Mankind, Mick Foley, D-Generation X, and Bret Hart. There's so many more names that were attached to this era that I have not included. I'll go into them later in the video, but the main three names that you mainly hear about is Steve Austin, Rock, Undertaker. Now, as y'all know, I was not there to witness the Attitude Era. I wasn't there at the time. My era is Ruthless Aggression. I was born like a few years after the Attitude Era already started. So I have legit no attachment to the Attitude Era in the way that, let's say, my parents or my siblings or my older cousins do. And this game decided to dedicate an entire game mode to reliving the events of the Attitude Era. Think of the Attitude Era as a campaign mode for WWE 13. Alright, so the Attitude Era opens up like this. They give the little messages in the front telling you what you're about to witness, and they have their announcer introduce what's about to happen. They show you clips throughout the years of WWE between like early 2000s and the year this game came out, and then they start showing you clips of the early 90s to late 90s. They basically give you a visual comparison on the WWE at the time, which was 2012, and the WWE back then, which was the 90s. And then after, they give the Raw is War intro from 1997. Now, I just want to say how perfectly fitting this is. And I wish they did more of this in other games. If you're going to do a retelling of a time in history, your history, do it in the best way you can. And I think this was a great intro. You got the fires burning on the side, dogs barking, people running out of a factory. You got dudes wrestling in a ring in an abandoned warehouse. Stone Cold's walking through the fire looking cool as hell. Man, it was some shit. I liked it. It made me feel like I was watching an episode of Attitude Era Raw. Now, the very first story that is told, right, because there's like 8 stories told throughout this entire mode. The very first one is the rise of D-Generation X. They tell you the story about how D-Generation X was first formed in 1997. Now, obviously, we all know there's technically 2 versions of DX. There's the Triple H and Shawn Michaels version, and then there's the Triple H with the New Age Outlaws and X-Pac. This one tells you the story of Triple H and Shawn Michaels. Now, it starts off simple enough. You play as Shawn Michaels, and you have to defeat Mankind in a no disqualification match. Now, as the match goes on, Triple H gets involved. He fucks up Mankind and basically hands the win to Shawn Michaels. Now, this only really happens during the second half of the match. So during the second half, it's just you and Triple H versus Mankind. This is their very first appearance together. And I gotta keep it real, I was shocked because I never knew Triple H as Hunter Hearst Helmsley. I knew him as Triple H. So seeing him, you know, with the long black pants and the robe, all throughout the DX mode, all throughout the DX segment, seeing him with the robe, you know, as his blue blood snob, it was weird. I was so used to seeing Triple H as the game, you know, with the sledgehammer and the trunks. It was weird seeing Hunter Hearst Helmsley for the first time. Even to this day, I still can barely say that name right. So we're just going to call him Triple H. The entire DX chapter is just Shawn and Triple H getting involved in the other one's matches, them tagging together against people like Undertaker or Mankind, and the second half basically turns into, well, not going to say the second half, the middle turns into Shawn Michaels versus Undertaker, with Triple H in the background running interference. Them jumping him after matches, putting him into body bags, him tombstoning Triple H and then chasing Shawn Michaels off, him climbing the Titantron. The DX chapter was fun, and it goes into Shawn Michaels. This isn't just a Triple H and Shawn Michaels thing. It's not like the entire thing is them together. They also go into their own separate beefs, like Triple H versus Cactus Jack, you know, the debut of Cactus Jack. Shawn Michaels versus Bret Hart around like the end of the DX chapter, and it shows you the Montreal Screwjob. This chapter was a good way to show you how DX first formed, but it was also a good introduction to other characters that also get their own chapters in the Attitude Era. Guys like Mick Foley, Bret Hart, and Undertaker. Now, as I said before, DX was kind of like, you know, 2 different things. First, it was Shawn and Triple H. Then it was Triple H with New Age and X-Pac. It was never like them all together. So around the very end of the DX chapter, they show you matches with the New Age Outlaws and X-Pac. Now, those matches, they don't really play that much relevance to the story. It feels like it was more so just sprinkled in to be like, hey, remember, there's other members of DX. It's not just these 2, but the majority of the chapter is just Shawn Michaels and Triple H. Now, after completing Chapter 1 of DX, we get to Chapter 2, the rise of Stone Cold Steve Austin. Now, like I said in the beginning, there's mainly 3 names people really mention out the Attitude Era. There's The Rock, there's The Undertaker, and then there's Stone Cold Steve Austin. Now, out of those 3 names, Stone Cold is the #1 name you hear the most. Like, to this day, Stone Cold could come out right now and get the biggest pop out of any arena. It's like that now, it was like that when I was a kid, and it was for sure like that when he was first starting out. And this chapter basically gave us a step-by-step handbook on how Stone Cold became the name that he is today. All the t-shirts, all the pops, all of the catchphrases. This chapter shows you how all of that started. Now, the beginning of this chapter is an intro. It shows you Vince McMahon's actions after the Montreal Screwjob and his opinions on everything that happened. You know, him saying, Bret Hart screwed Bret Hart, I feel no sympathy for him. And the narrator's going in talking about, yeah, man, he was the biggest villain of the 90s. He's bigging up Vince crazy. All of that to introduce the hero to Mr. McMahon's villain story, Stone Cold Steve Austin. And they're basically showing you all of Stone Cold's antics in this next minute clip. You know, a quick introduction to the character before you start playing. And They do that for every one of these chapters. I like the fact that they do that. They use actual footage from the Attitude Era, chop it up, and they put it into cutscenes in between each match. So it really does feel like you're watching either an Attitude Era documentary or a recapped episode of Raw's War itself. That was a really great addition. Rather than remaking all these scenes with cutscenes, they saved that for the actual game, and in between each, they just took footage. That was smart. Now, the game opens up with the 1998 Royal Rumble. You play as Stone Cold, you have to eliminate a number of people, The Rock included, and then you have to win it. From what I got from it, it was like a surprise moment. I guess he wasn't supposed to be in the Rumble that year. I guess Vince banned him, but he showed up anyways. Stone Cold shit. Now, that match goes into his beef with Shawn Michaels. The match after that is him versus Road Dogg. Now, you have to basically take out Billy Gunn and Road Dogg because they showed up at the same time. The match goes the way it goes. You beat Road Dogg within 2 minutes, but then after that, the rest of the members of DX get involved. They all jump Stone Cold, beat his ass. Bros leaned up on the side, tugging the ropes, getting his ass beat by like 4 other guys. Shawn Michaels grabbed the title. He's in his face talking about, you ain't shit. You ain't never gonna be shit. This ain't for you. This mine. JR's in the back talking about, by God, it's a mugging. It was some shit. Then it goes into Stone Cold versus Shawn Michaels. Also, in between this match and the match after, they show you, the promos, the footages, all that, right? They show you the segments between Shawn Michaels and Stone Cold and Mike Tyson. Also, Mike Tyson was part of DX? Ain't that some shit? Now, after that, we have the match between Stone Cold and Michaels, and Mike Tyson is the special guest referee. Now, the way this was marketed is you have Mike Tyson as a member of DX, and he is the special guest referee, so you automatically think that Stone Cold is screwed. I thought Stone Cold was screwed, but we're going to get into that into a minute. While I'm talking about this match, I want to say something else I liked about the Attitude Era. The Attitude moments. Basically, they're playable, relivable moments of the Attitude Era. Like, for example, in that match between Kane and Austin, this is during the Brothers of Destruction chapter. There's a moment where he accidentally hits the ref, knocks him out, and then Mankind and Undertaker get involved. You have to match the buttons with the button prompts in order to relive that moment perfectly. They do it with every single chapter, and I think it's a clever way of not only giving you a scene on what happened during the Attitude Era, but giving you the opportunity to play through it. Which is basically what they're doing with the mode as a whole, but still, it's a nice addition. Now, back to Stone Cold and Austin. You're thinking Austin's fucked because Mike Tyson, who's a DX member, is special guest. No, he fucks over Shawn. He counts the 3 count, raises Austin's hand, knocks out Shawn Michaels, and boom, Stone Cold Steve Austin is the new WWE champion. Stone Cold's story ends with him versus Dude Love. Mr. McMahon is the special guest referee, and once again, like the Tyson situation, you need to figure out a way to win. Stone Cold spent the entirety of this chapter terrorizing him, and now he has the opportunity to fuck him over. So how is he gonna win? Well, Vince did try to fuck him over, because after Austin goes for the pin, Vince doesn't do the 3 count. He just stands there and watches. Austin gets pissed, he's up in Vince's face, and Dude Love tries to go for a chair shot. He misses and ends up hitting McMahon. Now you end up hitting Foley with a stunner, and you have to count him out, but there's no referee, so he just uses McMahon's lifeless body to count the 3 count and win the championship. And that concludes Stone Cold Steve Austin's chapter. There's like 5 or 6 more chapters we can talk about. I'm not going to talk about every single one of them. This video will be way too long. So I'm just going to talk about the DX chapter and the Stone Cold chapter. After that, if y'all haven't played this game already, play the chapters for yourselves. I promise you'll love them. You get to play as Mick Foley, Undertaker, Kane, Bret Hart, a number of people. The Rock, you're going to love it. Now, so far with the chapters that I just described, I love them. For me, as a kid, one of my favorite tag teams was DX, but the DX that I was introduced to was the 2006 version. I never saw this version of DX. So being able to see how they were formed and seeing all the other members of DX that I didn't get to see as a kid, it was interesting. Getting to live through Stone Cold Steve Austin's shenanigans, him being a menace towards Vince McMahon, him having this one-man army persona. That's the thing about Stone Cold's chapter. With the DX chapter, you have two guys unifying to go against another group of people, mainly individuals. With Stone Cold's chapter, you have an individual having to stand by his lonely against another group of people who aren't individuals, they're a collective. That while also having to go up against the boss of the company and an entire locker room full of people who hate him. It's kind of like night and day. And I think that's something I really enjoyed about Stone Cold's chapter. And it's funny because as a kid, I remember Stone Cold would make appearances on like Raw here and there. By the time I started watching wrestling, I mean, he was not a contender. He would he would make guest appearances, like surprise guest appearances. I got a hold of the WWE in like mid 2005. He was not really a wrestler by that time. So unlike DX, I never really got the opportunity to watch like 5 or 6 years worth of content from the guy. So being able to live through his story in the Attitude Era mode, it was cool. I liked it. I always kind of got the grasp of who he was as a person back in like, I don't know, 2007 or 2006. Like I said, through guest appearances, but we got an entire chapter with him. So whatever story that was needed to be told, I think they did it correctly. It's always fun watching a piece of history that you weren't there to relive. I didn't get to see the Attitude Era through the 90s, so WWE 13 made a mode for people like me to both enjoy and understand that time in WWE. Now let's get on to the gameplay. Now, I remember in my 2K14 vid, I said that 2K14 is WWE 13, but better. And I still stand by that. I think the fight mechanics in 2K14 is slightly faster than 13's. But as I said, slightly. The fight mechanics in WWE 13 can go head to head with 2K14 and 15, in my opinion. Just like 14, it's very fast paced, very arcadey. See, come SmackDown vs. Raw 2008, the gameplay in WWE games got too realistic. They slowed down the fight mechanics. It was very grapple heavy. There weren't really any combos like that. You felt like you were playing a simulator rather than, let's say, an arcade game. That's where 13 comes in. Even though they kept the same HUD designs of SmackDown vs. Raw 2011, it feels like they took the fight mechanics of SmackDown vs. Raw 2005 and sped it up and added their own adjustments. You can do 4 to 5 hit combos to stun your opponent, to finish him off with an instant grapple, and to make matters better, each character in this game has their own assigned moves. Now, it's not like one of those combo games where it's like, oh, circle, circle, X, or square, square, triangle. No, it's mainly just square. Square and X. But it's different for each character. CM Punk's fighting style isn't the same as John Cena's fighting style. The Undertaker's fighting style isn't the same as Sin Cara's. Same thing with guys like The Miz or Christian or Jack Swagger. Everybody fights differently. Another thing I loved about 13 was the targeting system. Now, if you're able to grapple your opponent, or if they're on the ground, you can press R1 and press either square, triangle, circle, or X to attack a certain member of their body. If you press R1, the HUD pops up and you can press either square or circle to attack their arms. You can press X to attack their legs, or you can press triangle to attack their head. That's very fucking clever, because not everyone in this game, as I said, has the same fighting style, but everyone has their own finisher. You know, John Cena's FU, that's a finisher that hurts the body. CM Punk's Go to Sleep, that's a finisher that hurts the head, and so on and so on. Each character has a finishing move that attacks a certain part of the body, and the targeting system helps you attack that certain part. If you're playing as a submission specialist, someone like Daniel Bryan, and your move either attacks the arms or the legs, you don't want to be doing suplexes and DDTs all day. You want to attack those certain parts of the body, and that's where the targeting system comes in. I don't know why they got rid of it. I don't know if they felt like they didn't need a use for it anymore, but I think that was the best part of these games. 13, 14, and 2K15 and so on. The gameplay is solid as hell. I can't remember a single time where I played this game and I had to worry about whether or not the, I don't know, characters would lag or the game would crash out, or if the fighting system got too sped up that the game would fail. I never had to worry about any of that. The grappling system was solid. In order for you to grapple, you had to tap X, right? But if you wanted to do a German suplex or go behind or on the side, you use the right analog stick. Depending on the direction that you move is where you position yourself on your opponent's body. That's when you get to use directionals with X in order to execute certain grapples. Mixing that with the attack combos was crazy. which again is another thing that they took out of later games, which I don't understand why. I think this is the best example of a grappling system in a WWE game, but that's just me. Another thing I loved about 13 was the OMGs. Yes, it was introduced in 12, but fuck it, we're talking about 13. The OMGs, that's basically like environmental hits. Think of all the craziest moments you've seen in WWE. People breaking the ring, people crashing through a barricade, people getting put through announce tables. They took that and they put it into the game and made it its own moveset. Let's say you throw somebody in the corner. Depending on their weight versus your weight, you can do an OMG and suplex them off the top and break the ring. Or let's say you throw somebody in the corner barricade. You can spear them through that barricade by doing an OMG. Or if you put their head next to a turnbuckle, if you put somebody at the end of a post, the turnbuckle post, and you put their head in between, you can do an OMG. You put their head in between it and you kick it on the other end of the metal post. There's a variety of different OMGs you can do. They're all fun as hell. And luckily, they kept them. They're not called OMGs anymore, but you can still do them in the game. The future games, I mean. Other than that, this game is solid, man. The game modes are fun as shit. You got games like Extreme Rules, Last Man Standing, I Quit, Inferno matches, Hell in a Cell. All the game modes are here, man. They're great. I mean, I still wish they'd bring back the Buried Alive matches, but fuck it. We still got Inferno matches and I Quit matches. I love everything about this game. There's a variety of game modes you can do, a variety of movesets, a variety of characters you can play as. That's another thing I loved about the game, was the roster. This roster is cut in half. There's the modern day roster, well, modern at the time, 2012, and then there's the Attitude Era roster, both filled with equally high amounts of players. You can spend the entire day playing as modern characters in modern arenas, or you can spend the entirety of the next day playing as Attitude Era characters in Attitude Era arenas. It's like you have two games in the form of one. Two different eras mixed together to make one big thing, and I fucking love it. Now, unlike the SmackDown vs. Raw series, this game didn't have a soundtrack. I don't think 12 had a soundtrack either, but this one was different. See, you played all the players, all the characters, all the wrestlers' theme songs. Those are the songs that played throughout the menu, but there is one song. It was Revolution by, I don't fucking know who, it's in my playlist somewhere, but it was the main theme of the game. Between that and hearing the David Otunga theme, or the Jack Swagger theme, or the Miz theme, or the Christian theme, the game didn't have its own custom soundtrack, but the wrestlers' theme songs and the Revolution song made it better. Now, before I go, I want to talk about one last thing. The entrances. The entrances for this game are solid as hell. They're definitely a step up from the last games and the SmackDown vs. Raw games. I think a good example of this is The Miz. Seeing The Miz go from the SmackDown vs. Raw games to this one was crazy, because in this one, this has my favorite version of The Miz. This is WrestleMania 27 Trenchcoat Miz. They took that entrance from WrestleMania 27 and they put it into WWE 13. I think 14 did it a little better with the bubble letters, but 13 is a close second. Like when he gets into the ring and the music matches with him raising the title in the air with the trench coat in the back, it's cool as hell. I fucking love it. CM Punk's Best in the World intro, him playing with the ground, checking his watch, screaming into the fans, yelling best in the world, him getting to the ring on the turnbuckle. Every single character, their entrances at the time matches with the game. Like, you felt like you were playing an episode of Raw and or SmackDown. And that's something I really enjoyed about this game. If they were to remaster it, I wouldn't buy it, because I mean shit, I already have it for the PS3. But if they were to remaster it and bring back online, I'd for sure play it. If you haven't played WWE 13 yet, I'd highly suggest it. I know people talk about 2K14 or SmackDown vs. Raw 2007 or Here Comes the Pain. A lot of people consider those three like the best games of their series. I'd put 13 as like a fourth member in that group. I really enjoyed WWE 13. But hey man, that's all I got for y'all. I hope y'all enjoyed this episode of Reggie TV. The last 2 minutes was low-key just me ranting about how much I love the game. But I did, man, I did. It was a really good addition to the series. I wish we got another one like it, but I think we're so deep into the 2K series now that I don't know if they'd go back to the 13 and 2K14 playing style, but it was good seeing it for what it was at the time. So I hope y'all enjoyed it. I hope y'all enjoyed the Attitude Era. I know for a fact I did. And they had to do their mode, not the actual. I wasn't there for that, but the mode itself was fun as shit. I hope y'all liked it. But that's all I got for y'all. This is Reggie TV, and I'm out.